Hello and welcome to Daily Current Affairs by Ekam IAS. Today is 28th July 2019 and the topics for discussion are the Companies Amendment Bill of 2019, Private Members Bill, International Charter on Space and Major Disasters, Zero Budget National Farming, Map Aided Program and Previous Year Question Revision Series. Now coming to the first topic, which is the Companies Amendment Bill of 2019. Now this is in news because the Lok Sabha has passed the Companies Amendment Bill 2019 and this is a bill to amend the Companies Act of 2013. Okay, so now this bill has proposed 8 key amendments. Now I'll tell you the amendments here. First one is the corporate social responsibility. Okay, now as of now the companies that are required to budget for this CSR is on the basis of 2% of its profit. Those companies must disclose in their annual reports the reasons why they were unable to fully spend these funds. Okay. Now, any unused annual CSR fund must be transferred to one of the funds under Schedule 7 of the Act. Okay. Now, under Schedule 7, for example, is the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, and that also should be, transferred within 6 months of the financial year. Now, the second amendment is that the issue of dematerialized shares. Now, under the 2013 Act, certain classes of public companies can issue shares only in the demat form, that is dematerialized form. Now, this bill states this may be prescribed for one other classes or classes of unlisted companies as well. So, not just this thing. In case of unlisted companies also can take it in the demat form. Now, third is the recategorization of offences. Okay, now under the 2013 Act, there are 81 compoundable offences that carry punishments of a fine or prison. Okay, fine and or prison, both of them are there, and which are heard by courts. Now, this bill makes 16 of these offences civil defaults, where the government appointed adjudicating officers may levy penalties. The bill also amends penalties for some other offences. Okay, now coming to the next amendment is debarring auditors. Under the Act, the National Financial Reporting Authority can debar a member or the firm for practicing as a chartered accountant for 6 months to 10 years in case of proven misconduct. Understand this time period. Now, now the bill amends this punishment to be provided for debarment from appointment as an auditor or internal auditor of a company or performing a company's valuation for the same period. The next amendment, the fifth amendment is that is the registration of charges. Now, under the Act, the companies must register charges, that is mortgages, etc., on their property within 30 days of creation of the charge. Now, this is expendable up to 300 days with permission from the registrar of companies. Okay, within 30 days they have to give, but that can be extended up to 300 days with the permission of the registrar. Now, the bill changes the deadline to 60 days. Initially, it was 30 days. Now, this bill tries to change it to 60 days. Now, the next amendment is the change in the approving authority. Now, under the Act, the change in period of financial year for a company associated with a foreign company has to be approved by National Company Law Tribunal. So, the earlier 2013 Act, for the financial year of a company to be associated with a foreign company, that has to be approved by National Company Law Tribunal. Now, any alteration in the incorporation document of a public company which has the effect of converting it to a private company too has to be approved by National Company Law Tribunal. But under the bill, these powers has been transferred to the central government. So, this is one other change. Coming to the next amendment is compounding. Now, under the 2013 Act, a regional director can compound or settle offences with a penalty up to 5 lakhs. Now, this ceiling has been raised to 25 lakh with this amendment. Okay, so initially it was 5 lakhs, but now it has been raised to 25 lakhs. And finally, the 8th amendment is bar on holding offices. Now, under the Act, which is 2013 Act, the central government or certain shareholders can apply to the NCLT for relief against mismanagement of the affairs of the company. Only any mismanagement is there in the company, they can they can apply to the NCLT. Now the bill states that such a complaint, in such a complaint, the government may also make a case against an officer of the company on the ground that he is not fit to hold the office in the company. Now this is the reasons for this can be fraud or negligence. These are the reasons that government can charge a person saying that he is not fit to hold the office in the company. Now if the NCLT passes an order against the officer, he will not be eligible to hold office in any companies for 5 years. Now coming to the next topic is private members bill. Now this is in news because the Congress MP moved a private members bill in the Rajya Sabha that seeks removal of the limit and state funding of elections as part of the reforms to the way polls are financed in India. Now, the bill asks for 2 key amendments in the Representation of People's Act. Okay. Now, as per the current rules, the per candidate expenditure limit is 70 lakhs, and this thing should be lifted. They are asking, and there should be state funding to ensure cleaner polity. And instead of some other unknown funding, there should be state funding in the elections. Now, we'll talk about what is a private members bill. Now, a member of parliament or the MP who is not a minister of the union cabinet is called a private member. Now, bill introduced by such members are called private members bill. So, if a private member means any MP who's not a minister or in the union cabinet but is part of the parliament, that MP is called a private member, and any bill that he raises is called a private members bill. Now, a private member bill can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha. Both the houses it can be introduced. Now, bill introduced by the ministers is called government bills. So, understand in the parliament also, there is the union cabinet, the council of ministers are there. Any bill introduced by them is called government bills, but any bill introduced by MPs who are not part of the government are called private member bills. These are the basic core difference between these two kind of bills. Now, generally the 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. slot on alternate Fridays during the sessions are reserved for discussion of private member bill. Now, there is no restriction as to what a private member bill should be about. The scope of a private member bill is same as that of a government bill. Means any area that the government bill can go in and suggest a bill for, the private member bill, a private member can also propose a bill that has the same scope, what area, in which all areas it can propose a bill. Now, these bills can deal with any issue that can also be a constitutional amendment bill. Understand this. This is maybe a prelims question saying that constitutional amendment bill can only be introduced by by government bills or only by ministers, but that is not true. Even a private member of the parliament can introduce constitutional amendment bill. Now, unlike a government bill, a private member bill is not discussed by the council of ministers internally, but a government bill is discussed by the council of ministers. Now, this is because council of ministers is basically one union. They represent the government of India. So, any bill that is introduced by any minister in the council of ministers actually says that that bill has been discussed by that unit because they are one unit. So, that any proposal by any government minister has to be discussed by all the ministers, but which usually is restricted to the cabinet. But in case of a private members bill, there is no such kind of union or any group formation. A individual private member can bring about a bill without any discussion with the government. Now, the procedure for this is that now private member bills are drafted by the MP themselves or their staffs. Okay. Now, the member has to provide a 1 month notice along with a copy of the statement of object and reasons. 1 month before they have to give a notice along with the reasons as to why I am bringing this bill. What are the reasons? You can't just simply go and introduce a bill like that. There have to be certain reasons and statements as to why a certain bill is being introduced. Now, there is also a parliamentary committee on private members bill and resolution that goes through all the private members bill. Okay, the committee classifies these bills based on their urgency and importance. Now, there are many private members in the parliament. Now all of them would be bringing out, maybe what if all of them are bringing out any private member bill, but since the time is short, the private members bill, the parliamentary committee on private member bill, they will sort through all the private member bills and they will decide which bill is more important, which has to be given more important in case any urgency is there, which has to be given more important, which has to be given least important, and like that they will determine the order, and on the basis of the most important ones, that bill will be discussed first. Now coming to the next topic is International Charter, Space and Major Disasters. Now this is in news because India has received satellite data on flood hit regions from 8 nations. Now that it includes the US, China and Russia. These 3 nations also, and other 5 countries also has given satellite information on the flood hit regions in India. Now this is as a part of the multilateral mechanism for sharing space-based data for countries affected by natural or man-made disasters. So understand this thing. Sometimes what happens is, if for example, I'll give it in an easier perspective. If any poor country does not have a satellite of its own to look after, like a remote sensing satellite of its own, there is a charter which says that other countries who has these satellites in space, they can give the data of the satellite to the country without having the satellite, if there is any natural or man-made disasters. So that is the reason as to why this issue is in news. Now we'll talk about the charter. Now the International Charter, Space and Major Disasters is a non-binding charter. Now this provides for the charitable and humanitarian retask acquisition and of transmission of space satellite data to relief organizations in the event of a major disaster. If a major disaster has happened, other countries on their humanitarian grounds can give their satellite data to the country so that they can, tackle the disaster better. Now it was initiated by the European Space Agency and the French Space Agency after the Unispace 3 conference held in Vienna, Austria in July of 1999. It officially came into operation in November 1 of 2000 after the Canadian Space Agency signed the charter in October 20th of 2000. Now, how it works, we'll talk about that. Whenever there is a natural disaster, the National Remote Sensing Center and a member space agency of 32 other countries which are a part of the International Charter, Space and Mission Disasters can activate their platform. Basically speaking, if there is a disaster happening, the National Remote Sensing Center will activate, and along with that, other member space agencies, there are 32 in numbers, they also activate as a part of this charter. Now the charter then seeks the information pertaining to the disaster hit area available with all the 33 member space agencies. Okay. Now the NRSC represents the Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO, as a member of the charter which has been set up under UN SPIDER, that is United Nations Platform for Space-Based Information for Disaster Management and Emergency Response. Now we'll talk about UN SPIDER. The UN SPIDER is a platform which facilitates the use of space-based technologies for disaster management and emergency responses. Now, as I told you this before, it stands for United Nations Platform for Space-Based Information on Disaster Management and Emergency Response. It is a program under the auspices of United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, and it is situated in Vienna, Austria. Now we'll talk about Unispace. Now, it is the United Nations Conference on the Exploration and Peaceful Use of Outer Space. Now, since 1968, the United Nations has held 3 conferences on the exploration and peaceful use of outer space. All the 3 have been held in Vienna. The first one was in 1968, the second one in 1982, and the third one and the last one was in 1999. So, all the 3 of them were called Unispace 1, Unispace 2 and Unispace 3. Now, Unispace plus 50 will mark the 50th anniversary of the first Unispace conference and take stock of the contributions to global space governance of the 3 Unispace conferences. Now, coming to the next topic is zero budget natural farming. Now, this is in news because our finance minister had given a thrust to the innovation model of zero budget natural farming in the state. Now, this method can be helpful in doubling the farmer's income, by the 75th year of independence of India. So, by India being at 75th year of independence, such methods like zero budget natural farming can help in doubling the income of farmers. Now we'll talk about what is zero budget natural farming. So now this ZBNF is a method of chemical free agriculture drawing from traditional Indian practices. Okay. Now it is different from organic farming. Now zero budget refers to zero net cost of production of all crops. Input cost of a farmer will be zero. That is the basic idea here. Now the main aim of zero budget natural farming is to eliminate use of chemical pesticides and use biological pesticides and promote good agronomic practices. Now how did this come about is that it was originally promoted by the Maharashtrian agriculturist Subhash Palekar. Now he developed this method in the mid 1990s as an alternative to the Green Revolution method. Now in Green Revolution method, it is heavily dependent on chemical fertilizers, pesticides and heavy irrigation. However, this zero budget natural farming, it promotes soil aeration, minimal watering, intercropping, bunds and topsoil mulching, discourages intensive irrigation or deep ploughing. So it discourages all of these things, and it goes in for soil aeration, little bit only minimal watering, and it allows for intercropping. Okay. Now ZBNF is a vermicompost. ZBNF is actually against vermicomposting. Now vermicomposting, it's against this because vermicomposting is the mainstay of the typical organic farming. Now this introduces the most common type of composting worm, which is the European red wriggler. Now because of that, it has come into the Indian soils also. Now the problem with these worms is that these worms absorb toxic metals and poison from the groundwater and the soil. Now there are 4 wheels in zero budget natural farming. The first one is Bija Mitra, second is Jiva Mitra, third is mulching, and last and final is Vapasa. So I'll explain what the 4 things are. The Bija Mitra basically means seed treatment using local cow dung and cow urine. So basically they'll be mixing a few things with local cow dung and cow urine, and that will help in seed treatment. Then comes the Jiva Mitra, is basically applying a inoculation made of local cow dung and cow urine without any fertilizers or pesticides. Now then is mulching. This activity is to ensure favorable microclimate in the soil, and finally Vapasa is soil aeration. Now coming to the map aided program, today we will be discussing about the Zojila Pass. Now the Zojila Pass is a high mountain pass in Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. Now it is located on National Highway 1 between Srinagar and Leh in the western section of the Himalayan mountain range. Now it separates the Kashmir Valley to its west from Dras Valley in its northeast. Okay. So Kashmir Valley is in its western side and Dras Valley is in its northeastern side. This pass is which separates these two valleys. Now the pass is about 100 kilometers from Srinagar, which is the capital of Jammu and Kashmir, and is around 15 kilometers away from Sonmarg, which is also a major region in Jammu and Kashmir, basically a tourism site. Now this pass provides a vital link between Ladakh and the Kashmir Valley, and it runs at an elevation of around 3,500 meters above sea level. And this is the second highest pass after Fotula Pass in Srinagar Leh National Highway. Now here you can see the location of this pass and you can see where it is. Now coming to the previous year question revision series, I'll read out the question. So what are the significance of a practical approach to sugarcane production known as Sustainable Sugarcane Initiative? 1. Seed cost is very low in this compared to the conventional method of cultivation. 2. Drip irrigation can be practiced very efficiently in this. 3. There is no application of chemical or inorganic fertilizers in this at all. And 4. The scope of intercropping is more in this compared to the conventional method of cultivation. So now here I want you to do a homework as think about this and write down the answers for this question in the comment sections below. Now we'll talk about the question given yesterday. Now yesterday's question was basically connecting the national highway and city. So it asked the NH4. I mean in the statement, the three statements given was the NH4 is connecting Chennai and Hyderabad, NH6 is connecting Mumbai and Kolkata, and NH15 is connecting Ahmedabad and Jodhpur. Now of the four options, actually the correct answer for the question is option D, which is none. All the three are wrong. I will explain that, basically speaking, because National Highway 4 actually is a 230-kilometer road which is present in Andaman and Nicobar. I mean basically in Andaman. It is called the Great Andaman Trunk Road. Okay. Now there is a confusion in this region also. Why? Because people earlier this National Highway 4 was actually a stretch of land which connected Mumbai, Pune, Hubli, Bangalore and Chennai. One stretch of this region was National Highway 4, but after 2010 its designation has been changed and that stretch is now being called National Highway 48, and National Highway 4 is the stretch of land in the Andaman Island which is called the Great Andaman Trunk Road. Now National Highway 6 actually does not connect Mumbai and Kolkata. It's actually a road which is present in the northeastern regions of India, in the states of Meghalaya, Assam and Mizoram. Now coming to the final is NH15. Now NH15 actually starts from Assam and terminates in Arunachal Pradesh, again in the northeastern region. So it is not in the Ahmedabad, Jodhpur region. So it's not in that region at all. So therefore all the three options given are wrong and the answer for the question is D. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you have any doubts or queries, you can write down in the comment section below. Thank you.